I'm joined here today with artist Nicole Ray as we take a look back at this last year. And Nicole, it seems like sometimes you think back to when the pandemic started. It's been a long year, but also March, March 2020, March 2021. It seems like it was just yesterday we hit the pandemic. So let's kind of talk about how we continue to move forward if we feel like we've been stuck still in last March.
It is very different to acknowledge a year in the month of March. Usually it's been a year in the month of January. This is new for all of us to say, wow, we all share a pivotal marking on the calendar this March for having times of kind of challenge and struggle, but at the same time, perseverance and resiliency and commitment and dedication. And what I wanted to share a little bit about today is you may be feeling a lot of different what I call feels over the last year. And in my healing arts practice, I share with my students as a guide to see their life as a practice. So I do want you to take a look back in the next few days of, hey, if I were to see my life as a practice in the last year, where could I acknowledge my wins? Where could I see how far I've come? Could I acknowledge that even doing one thing that I did differently in the last year is something that I could be proud of? When we see our life as a practice, there's more space for compassion and patience and light to come through and help us kind of lift ourselves up when we feel a little bit down.
Yes. And I like what you have been saying. There's been times when we felt like we haven't accomplished anything in this last year. So let's talk about the way you can kind of practice taking a look back at those little wins. Not everything has to be a big, momentous moment. And a lot of us weren't able to even do that in the past year. So it's all about calculating and looking back and checking off. I learned how to run a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it is, it's similar to the idea of gratitude, but I'm here to kind of talk to you about a practice called hashtag, literally the symbol. Nobody says it, I do. I'm the only one. Hashtag wins is about taking a look back on the last year and writing a little list down of what are some of the little things that you will never have seen in your life as a win, specifically compared to what we as kind of our society tells us, here's how we measure success, here's how we measure our goals. This last year kind of breaks the rules of all of those traditional ways of measuring to help you start to say, hey, what did you do differently? What did you do that was hard? What are some of the things that you stayed with? And what are some of the things that you only did once? And say, you know what? It's a win if I learned how to use Zoom. It's a win if I showered today. It's a win if I taught my kids math for 3 months and never thought I could do it. It's a win if you got up every single day and made it through the day. It's a win if you did 6 at-home workouts in 365 days when you're used to going to the gym at, like me, at 1.7 days a week. Those are wins. Wins are really important for ourselves because we are the only ones that can shine light on ourselves. Right now, all of us are carrying different hardships and challenges. And, in the past, we might look to a dear friend or a significant other or a parent to say, hey, good job on all of those things that you're doing. But now it's our turn in a way to say, you know what? I'm going to shine light on myself because we are the only ones to be able to lift ourselves up. And doing this little practice of hashtag wins is a way for you to lift yourself up, to see with the light how far you've come so that you can start to see where you have grown.
Now, let's talk for a minute. It's hard for people to look at their own wins and to say, I'm proud of myself for doing this or that. We are great at giving compliments sometimes, but having them given to us or even giving them to ourselves can be a challenge in itself.
Exactly. We're trained kind of as a collective to say, I'm proud of you for graduating. I'm proud of you for that new job. I'm proud of you for, paying off your student debt. Some of these big things that, we are told to, well, we're trained to kind of just naturally instincts is to give that to ourselves. But it's time as a collective, as a just a whole to start to say, you know what if we all took one moment and listed one thing out, either said it out loud or wrote it down using the affirmation, I am proud of myself of, do you think it would lift the vibration of the world? We have to be our own coaches. We have to be our own cheerleaders. And it's not fun. It's not easy. And sometimes it feels so awkward and it feels a little bit selfish. And we're told, don't talk about yourself, don't brag about yourself, don't go around saying all these things that you did. But, you ask your kids, what did you learn in school today? Or what did you do today that, that you enjoyed? And when do we often find the ability in ourselves to kind of share with ourselves, let alone, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm proud of myself for taking that walk today, or I'm proud of myself for choosing that healthy meal day. We have this idea that it has to be something so big, and we put all these expectations that it has to look a certain way. But it's time. It really is time after this last year for all of us to say, you know what? Regardless of what I'm used to doing, I'm going to start acknowledging my wins and saying, I am proud of myself.
And, we think about this past year, and a lot of people joke, oh, I haven't even processed, last March or March 2020. But it really is one of those things that there were a lot of challenges, but we all adapted. And some people forget that they have changed in this past year. They might think, oh my gosh, I don't have any wins. I can't think of any, Nicole, but it really has been a challenge. And I think if you've still gotten up every single day, and like you said, even if it's little things like went for a walk twice, it doesn't have to even be twice a day for these last 365. It could just be, you had set out a challenge, you did it a couple times. That's still a win right there.
I completely agree. And where we are at as a group is kind of like, to be honest, we're all a little bit over it. We're over it. But also we feel we all feel a little bit different, but we're all in this together. And really, I think what we need to be able to grow forward, to really kind of gain whatever it is that we most need, whether that's more perseverance, more strength, a little bit more joy, is to sit for a moment, whether it's on your own in a journal, with your significant other, with a friend over a call, with your kiddos, and just say, you know what, let's see what we did over the last year. Did you take that camping trip instead of, that trip you had planned to go somewhere that normally was on an airplane, and you gathered the whole family up in the car with all your things? What did you do? Because there's a lot of blessings in this moment, but also there is still a lot of loss and there's a lot of grief, and each of us have our own story, and our stories do matter. And I think if we can start acknowledging how far we've come individually, and help other people around us do the same, that we will continue to become stronger, and start to see that this was part of the path, and that we were all here to rise a little higher.
Yeah. How do we try to process everything that has happened in the last year? It's been a lot to absorb no matter what age, even for young kids, making big adjustments to their schedules, to us as adults. How do we kind of process it all? Because I do think you have to kind of take it all in to be able to keep moving forward.
Yes. If you are feeling a little bit what I call closed, or a little bit blocked, or just a little bit shut down, or just a little bit, I would invite you to use the practice within the Art of Daily Practice called I Forgive and Release. It's a way to give love, or give peace, or give whatever it is that you need, a positive feeling, a way into what it is that you are carrying, so that you can start to reflect. You may not be able right now to reflect, but I forgive and release. Even I forgive and release the last year. I forgive and release the hardships of the last year. I forgive and release depression, anxiety, loss, fear. I forgive and release my finances. I forgive and release the 20 pounds I gained because my routines got different. I forgive and release not feeling like I accomplished anything, or I forgive and release feeling like I'm in the worst place I've ever been in my life. I have friends that, are saying those words. I forgive and release is a way for you to create some space. It can be done in a journal. Write that affirmation. You can say it out loud, or you can say it mindfully. if you do want to reflect, if you do want to see a little bit of light shined on yourself and you're just feeling a little bit kind of stuck to do that, use this practice, and you can always reach out and have a session with me, and I can deepen that practice for you and really help you create some space.
And I like too that it kind of lets you reflect, but let go as well, and then kind of look forward. And that's another thing that you've taught in your practices is where do you want to see yourself? So let's talk about some intentions now that we've gone through a year of this and now guidelines continue to change. How do we set new intentions for this next year, headed into another unusual one?
As you start to acknowledge your wins, document even one thing that you're proud of yourself for, clear a little bit of space with I forgive and release. Just try these things. They seem a little odd and a little weird. Don't worry, I'm used to that feeling from people. Will help you create space for what I call your vision, or the desires of your heart. We are still programmed to have desires. We still have our calling within. We still have this, wildfire that's burning in each of us. And I invite you, when you get something that says I want to do, or I take this trip, write this down. Put a piece of paper on your fridge, share it with your significant other, your roommate, your kiddos. Start writing down what are some of those things that you still want to have. The mind looks back and says, well, we can't do that because we couldn't do it in 2020. We can't do it now. But the truth is that there's still creativity, there's still inspiration here, and we still have the perseverance to say, you know what, our vision matters. So keep documenting, writing down. As goofy as it seems, or it kind of is like, this doesn't seem like there's any point. There's power in practicing, there's power in writing these things down, talking about your desires. And take a look at what you set a year ago for intentions. We all had a lot of what I call mojo when it first put us into, Zoom happy hours. Maybe you're going to have another one of those, or maybe you said, you know what, I want to I want to start working out again. It doesn't have to be something big. Lift your small dumbbells like I do 20 times and call that a workout. Look back at what you set out a year ago, and see, without judgment, what did you do? And remember, it's still a win if it was done once, but then ask yourself, do I want this in my life? Do I want a healthy workout routine? Maybe you still do, and just ask for guidance. It's another practice of mine. I ask any guidance on what my workout routine looks like. I ask any guidance on how to bring my family together in different and new ways. And at the same time, we all have to just carry that trust and hope that we're growing and we're going through. And so stay close to your vision and be mindful to forgive that voice, that ego voice that wants to punk you and say, well, it's not going to work, or we can't do that still, or I'm just kind of angry or frustrated. As you start to forgive and release some of those emotions, you'll start to see what's, on the other side. There's no other side, but when we forgive, it kind of plops us over on the other side and says, wow, I start to see this differently. I
Yeah.
have more
And
peace on this.
you've mentioned it to me before, Nicole. It's kind of those little nudges, any little voices that kind of pop up. It doesn't matter how outrageous or how small it might seem, just kind of even writing it out or making a note of it in your head. Oh, I had a nudge to, start doing some more of my own home cooking or whatever it might
Yes.
be. It's always about kind of listening to yourself internally, because that's how we're going to continue to grow into these next few months, these next few years to come.
Yeah, it's definitely tuning in, and in tuning in is the nudges, and those nudges, they may show up in that tiny little voice within, or it may show up by somebody saying, hey, I found this really cool app on how to make different recipes, or you pull up your Facebook or Instagram and see something that inspires you, or be aware and be open to that guidance, that way through. It shows up in song lyrics, or a big billboard says something. Just keep your eyes open, and just stay hopeful even
Mhm.
when it's hard, and forgive when it's hard. And we got to shine some light, and shining light is when we shine light, it's not saying that we're not acknowledging the loss that the world has had. And so I just want to kind of also just remind you of that, is by shining light on ourselves to see how far we come, you will start to see those blessings, and you'll start to see what it is that we need as a whole, but we'll also find the empathy and the sympathy to acknowledge the last year has brought a lot of loss and a lot of grief. And so
Yeah.
all these practices are, aligned to also tuck into the memory and the remembrance of what has taken place in this year as well. So try to keep your mind open to the practices that I shared, that they are truly to help you find peace within yourself, and help bring peace to other people that need it as well.
Well, because there might be some people who are listening, Nicole, and just say, I don't feel like this last year has been a blessing. I've lost my job or lost a family member due to COVID, had a lot of big changes that they aren't happy with. So that can be another piece where working with someone like you can really help them kind of process it all. And like we've been saying, cultivate some ways to grow from those things that are very down. I mean, we've had a down year. I won't lie.
Yeah, it definitely was a down year, and the new year kind of didn't exactly help us. And yes, I've also myself have been practicing on it, just acknowledging what you have been through, and even writing a list down of these are all the things of 2020 and 2021 that have been brought in my life, and just be with them. Because also, as kind of a group, we are kind of told, don't talk about your hardships, keep it to yourself, don't complain. But really too, you might need and I've done this multiple times, is just keep writing a whole list, or make a little pie graph or spider graph that says these are all the things that really aren't working, these are all the things that have been hard. And when you feel ready, possibly bring your I forgive and release affirmation to them, or just stay with them and say, what, I do feel down and I do feel lost. And instead of trying to get back up on the horse and push myself to be upbeat or positive, I think too, as a whole, we do need to just be. We need to just be with where we are. And I can help you as a guide to meet you exactly where you're at, and give you some tools in your toolbox that can help you just keep going forth, and small things, because I'm not here to give you one more thing to do. I'm definitely here to help you see your life as a practice, and to remember that in that practice, there is that compassion, and that awareness, and that growth, and it all sits in it. So.
Yes. And so let's tell people how they can practice with you, because I really like you emphasized it just there. It doesn't have to be something you do every single day, but just these little times to take to work on yourself. That really has been what 2020 has been about, and it will continue to be about these next few months too.
Yes, so you can work with me at artofdailypractice.com. You can have a virtual session with me. You can learn the art of daily practice, the 3 foundational practices, whether that's through an online course, a one-on-one session, or if you happen to have a team or a group, I can lead that entire collective through those practices. And if you are just looking for something to kind of tuck into your growth, I have a monthly practice called the Collective, and you can join that. You'll see my face in videos, and I'll give you downloads and prompts, and I'm here just to meet you at the beginning. You don't need to be ready. You just need to have a little mustard seed of willingness, and then I'll guide you along.
Yes. Really helping us kind of take and process the last year, look at the strengths we've all developed, and continue to move forward. So, Art of Daily Practice, artist Nicole Ray, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you.